Welcome to Riverbend Talent on WBGZ, brought to you by the Halpin Music Company.
Another Thursday night, another Riverbend Talent on the Big Z, brought to you by the Halpin Music Company and by Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance. The Sea Shanty Sing-Along already underway down at Morrison's Irish Pub. The Sean Trost Band underway down at Fast Eddie's until 10 o'clock. The Letterman playing the Wild E tonight at 7 o'clock. Scruffy-looking Nerf Herder already underway at Big Daddy's in Edwardsville until 9. Aaron Wilkinson already underway at the Cabin at Judy Creek and Glen Carbon until 9. Pat Liston, 7 o'clock tonight at Deutsch Village Inn until 10. Definitely get down there and check that out. Of course, Christmas at the Mill on a Thursday night with Jeremy Drake down in Granite City at the Mill. Lanny and Julie out at the Prairie Inn in Dorsey started at 5:30, going to 8:30. And, of course, Experience Live Music Road down there in Belleville every week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. A constant festival, just like they got going on up in Grafton constantly. So... Right?
There's a constant flow of things going through the Mill, and when I was first taken through the Mill, I was sort of explained how they wanted this thing to go, and it is definitely heading in that direction. Currently, doing the Christmas series, in addition to constantly doing a tribute series. Tribute bands constantly coming in and out of there tonight.
And magicians.
Magicians.
They've had magicians a couple of times.
And just a constant flow of different bands, national acts, local acts. It's a beautiful thing that's happening there. Returning to the show to talk about that, amongst other things, Scott and Mechelle. Oh, yes. My Mechelle. So, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Here,
this is great. Love this.
Down a little closer to you.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
There
Thank
we
you.
go. Yeah, I can hear you better now.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Looking beautiful as
Thank you.
always.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, because he's sitting there, I'm refraining from doing what I hear Becca did and nibbling on your ear. Scott's too intimidating, and I'm not Becca. I can't get away with it. Greetings, Mr. Scott. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You were as handsome as ever as well. I nibble on your ear just as well, but I nibble on your ear just as well, but I believe she could take me in a fair fight, so I'm going to leave it on.
Just like you said, the heart wants what the heart wants.
You know what? Now, I'll let you know, though. You could probably take me in a fair fight, but I don't fight fair.
Yeah,
I
don't
get the
either.
feeling you
I
don't.
don't either,
See,
no.
I had a feeling. I've known you just long enough
Yeah.
to pick up. Actually, I picked up on that immediately.
I'm the youngest of three.
You got to fight for it, so am I. And I only got to watch what I wanted on TV if nobody else was home. I was the last, and I was the original remote.
Oh.
Get up and change it to channel. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we had 5 channels, and everybody, get up and change it to channel 4.
Yeah.
No, try 5. I'll just stand here.
Try 9.
Nobody ever says that. So tell us what has been going on in the world of Scott and Mechelle.
Well, not too much. I guess we've just been playing, and I've been helping out with the Mill and different things like that. Ray Warren is actually, you guys know Ray Warren from Harvest Drive and Fast Wave, and
I don't know. We've had Harvest Drive on, haven't we?
I don't think so.
yeah,
No?
maybe we should talk about that.
We're gonna have to make
Jeff
that
McGee,
happen.
and it used to be Jennifer Thompson and Harvest Drive.
Yeah.
And she's not in the band anymore, but yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so Ray is the new general manager there.
Nice.
And he he's very well qualified for that job, and so he's got us well booked into 2025 and going into 2026 now.
I've seen that somewhere. I think it's cottonmouth.org.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
I noticed as because we're booked through the new year, and I start kind of looking into the first of the year, going, okay, I know things sort of slow down here.
Yeah.
Let's see what's happening. And I'm like, oh, well, look at that. The Mill's got stuff. The Mill's. Well, that's going a long way. And there are a few places like the Mill and a few people like Mr. Tracy Inman who got stuff booked out for well into next year, heading into the 2026 era already.
Yeah.
So
we've also, our youngest son Tyler has joined us for the Supernova band.
Nice. Supernova.
Yeah, and it's the drummer is Nick Navasic, and so they call him Nova, and so he was the former chief of police in Granite City, and he just became the coroner of Madison County.
Okay.
And so but anyway, so he's the drummer, and so it's me and Scott and our youngest son Tyler and Nova, and then Steve Cromroy on bass, and we've been
Open up for the Van Halen band.
the Van Halen
Lean in a little
The-
bit.
The Van Halen band. We opened for them.
Oh, nice.
At the mill. And these guys from out in California, unreal.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
David Lee all over. Beautiful. Oh yeah.
I'm glad to hear that it was David.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
And they're going to be back on June 13th. So they're
Awesome.
coming
Yeah,
back
come
on June
check 'em
13th.
out.
So,
They're
and so
incredible.
I saw that a lot of when I said it earlier that a lot of tribute bands were coming through there. A lot of them are national touring tribute bands. When I
Yeah.
say that, it's not, but there are even some local guys who have thrown
Right.
together tribute acts to do
Yeah.
it also.
Yeah.
But a lot of the ones I've seen that are booked out through the next year, I can tell by the name.
Yeah.
That for whatever reason,
Yeah.
you can just read it on the name that this is a national. Plus, you
Yeah.
haven't
Oh,
heard
yeah.
of them.
Yeah, Music City Stones is from Nashville.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Jesse James Dupree, he was
yeah.
there maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
From Jackal.
From Jackal.
Right, and that's what I mean. And these guys are they're not just local guys. They're touring. They're
Oh, yeah.
and nothing against local guys. They're all my friends.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm not slinging hash on them
Yeah.
because they're the greatest players I
Yeah.
know. You know.
Right.
There's
Right on.
52,000 guitar pickers in this town, and I'm the worst. There's no.
I'm getting hot flash.
Oh, my
You're
magic
doing
is
it.
working.
Oh.
I was
What are
putting
you doing here?
I was putting the pheromones out. I was hoping.
I'll hold your shirt, Michi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
I didn't know no deodorant. And I jogged a little before I got here.
Oh,
putting
it
out the
releases it,
pheromones. Yeah.
But yeah, so we've been playing with the Cellar Dwellers. We have a band with that too. Put it together, and it can go up to like 11 of us. But
That's a crowded stage.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, unless you have a
2 rows. Yeah, it's crazy.
it's all like local musicians that have gotten together, and we all just we play. We call it Cellar Dwellers because we play in the basement of Steve Nunn's. He's the former
blast.
coroner, and it's like you go down these stairs, like 45 stairs to get to his basement. So
Into the abyss.
so 2 former coroners, like.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say if those
One
guys,
current.
something tells me if those guys are writing lyrics, they're gonna seem like heavy metal,
Yeah.
but they're kind of night and day, but
What was that song by Blood Rock DOA?
That's right. But yeah, so we've been busy. Scott and I have been playing a lot, and Saturday will be like for the KC Hall. We play their Christmas party every year, and then next Thursday we'll be at the mill for Christmas at the mill.
So
And-
real quick before we move away from the cellar dwellers, you said it maybe and I didn't pick up on it. Is it like a pickup band?
Kind of,
On
yes.
so there's you got a pool of 11 possible players,
And
but
we can just-
you don't know who
Right.
or all might
Yeah.
it could be 3, could be 11.
Yes.
So that's cool. When you said up to 11 players, I went, oh, so it's a pickup band. But then we moved on, and I just had to
Yeah.
clarify that before.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, I would have stayed up all night going, what did she mean up to 11?
You can text me.
Like, are they still taking applications at 11? They're topping out, or not sure what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Bonnie is a part of that too.
Awesome.
She'll
Now
come up.
you were just talking about one of those magic moments, and any musician out there, or even people in other groups that this probably happens to, actors or comedy troops. I don't know. Anyway, it was one of those magic moments where you're cruising around. You take Bonnie out for dinner. Bonnie Bramlet, we're talking about, by the way, for anyone who's just like Bonnie Bramlet, the legendary.
Now I'm having hot flashes.
I'll hold your shirt, too.
You know I'm a big fan of Bonnie Bramlett.
Oh, yes.
She's beautiful.
Yeah.
Every time I watch an interview we did with her,
We don't
I
want to
just
know what
crack.
you do. No, I'm sorry. Maybe he doesn't do what I do. Anyway, go ahead. It's a scary ghost. It's Expo Plaza.
You got it, big man. You can take it from me.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll stay out of this.
No, I laugh at. all my training going down the tube because I was such like a fan guy. Like, Bonnie, tell us this. Yeah. 'Cause the same thing Pigpen did when he interviewed the dead.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Remember when you guys played the other night? That was so cool.
Remember you played it? That was awesome, man.
That was awesome.
Biggest, Chris Farley all over.
That's awesome. I love that.
But, it's funny because me and Dennis talked about this a couple days ago about Bonnie, and he was telling me that when you guys brought her in and we had her on, he was bouncing back and forth between trying to find out truisms about her and things he read. Hey, I heard this about you. Is it true? Being the journalist that he is, and setting me up because I knew very little.
Right.
I knew Clapton and that was about I knew very well, and as I heard it all unfold, and I'm like, oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And it just kept going, and if you meet Bonnie, it's easy to see, like when you hear all these people that she touched that are people that touched you, you realize the influence that this woman has had over rock and roll.
Oh, yes.
It goes deeper than many other single people.
Yeah.
And rock and roll has touched me so deeply, and she has moved it so deeply. It's like you've been a part of my life without me even
Without you
really
even knowing it.
without me
Right.
knowing you, and you start getting goosebumps when you get to that place. But as I'm going through this and looking at her, I'm like, you know what though, I can see why the Beatles were excited to see her. I haven't even watched her perform, but I can see why everybody that she comes across, not everybody, Elvis Costello excluded, why most people...
They made up.
But you fall in love with her very quick. As you say, she's beautiful, and not just in...
She's just beautiful.
Not just in, she's beautiful to look at, but just as
a
spiritual
person.
people would say, her aura, her being,
Her
is
spirit and everything.
her being and who she is. It radiates off of
Yeah.
her in a way that you're like, oh my gosh, you were so awesome. And I, like him saying he fanboyed. Well, had I known how deep she had touched me coming into it, I probably would have been fanboying just as bad. But it was unreeling in front of me, and it was more one of these realizations like, oh my gosh, and by the time it unraveled, where I'm realizing the effect she's had on me, I've already sensed. I'm already sitting there in love with her. You know what I mean? It's already happened.
I love that.
Anyway, so this magic moment I brought up is that you're taking Bonnie out to dinner, and your plan is to go by the mill, if I understand it, to see some music. However, you have to inform her, hey, sorry,
The band has canceled.
the band canceled at the mill, so we're just going to do dinner. And she says, let's call a few people. Let's just do it.
And we did a jam. Yeah, it's great.
And so you do a pickup band with Bonnie and a few folks that you happen to be able to gather on a Thursday night or whatever.
Yeah, it was, Steve Nunn and Steve Cromroy and Scott and myself and Becca and Dave Toretto was there.
And Becca being Bonnie's daughter who
Plays Stevie Nicks.
plays
Right.
Stevie
Tour.
Nicks she replaced Stevie Nicks when Stevie fell off tour, but she sings backup with them or
Oh
something.
yeah, so many
Lead.
So many people.
Well, leads whenever Stevie's not there,
Right,
for
yeah.
sure. But that,
And very similar to what Bonnie did. She works in the industry, doing singing and different things that Bonnie did as well. Bonnie was on a lot more records than people realize. She may not only
when
been
you look
on
at 'em,
one song on a record that's your favorite record
Well,
that they brought her in for. So
and one of the things I heard from her that I had never conceived, even though knowing the industry, I should have seen that, of course, this sort of thing happens. And one of the things that she said, and I don't remember if it was on air, just talking to her, is that one of the ways that she made money, but you don't see her name on that album, is that they'd have a star, they'd have a song, and it ain't going as well as they thought. Man, we thought this star would do this song. So they'd bring Bonnie in and say, lay a scratch track for us. How would you do this song?
Right.
And then and take that and go, learn it like this. So Bonnie really laid the melody that this person's following. However, she's not even really credited. It's just a paycheck she's gotten for that. So she's affected way more if she's on 60 albums, she's affected hundreds.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And that was one of the thoughts. I mean, hearing how many albums she was on and how much she affected, how many people she introduced to people, and how the role that she played had already moved me to a point of, oh my gosh. And when I heard that one, I went, you'll never even get credit for all that you've done.
Yeah.
This is the way you're saying you made a lot of your paychecks.
Yeah.
You know. Wowzers. You know. And anyway, and you've known her for a long time, so that's why you happen to be taking her out to dinner on this evening.
Yeah,
and
just kind of everything lined up right. It was good.
yeah.
Catch up, folks who don't know, Scott grew up next door to Bonnie, right?
Yeah, my mom used to babysit her.
Right.
My mom and her mom was
Best
very
friends.
good friends. And then that's great. She tells me stories about my parents that I never knew, you know, because there's no more people to tell me about them.
Well,
you know?
and usually friends or even older uncles or something, they'll tell you the stories that your parents never told you about
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah, they
Uh-huh.
omitted
And that's
it
how
in
she,
your
that's what
childhood.
she does. Yep.
And so you gotta love
Oh,
that,
yeah.
you know, because you get a little more insight to your parents, the reality of your
Oh,
parents, the
yes.
things that they didn't really want you to know about them
Oh, yes.
necessarily.
That's
She had the
awesome.
house for my
yeah.
father as a
Yeah.
young girl, but he never acted on it. I said, I'm glad you told me that. Thank God. She was 13. That makes me feel much better about life.
Hey, Scott, how old are you?
63.
63,
Yeah.
so you're quite a bit younger than her.
Yeah, she just turned 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, she remembers when Scott was born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She'd think that she'd be pregnant, and all of a sudden her time would come, and they'd all cry like, God, they tried so hard for you. And I said, cried before I was born, and then my mom cried the day after I was born.
Cried every day at least since I was 13. What'd I do wrong?
Disappointment.
I kind of wondered, because, talked about your mom babysitting her, and, by the time she's grown, she's on the road. She's already heading out
She's
to...
like in her 17 or 18.
Yeah,
she was,
joined
yeah.
Ike and Tina Turner.
Right.
One of her first outings.
Yeah.
And she's
so-
an Ikeette.
Right. And had been singing that entire time, of course, but that's where her story really begins as a teenager and jamming as an Ikeette. The
Right.
only white Ikeette, lasted only a week, got permission from her mother
Yes.
to do that, and had to sign some papers because it was illegal for a white girl to cross state lines. And she mentioned in the interview that, Chuck Berry had just got arrested for that. Some is well on Ike's mind, that this was a risk. So they used the tan, right,
Yeah.
to try to disguise her just for that week because she was only filling in. But and then right after that, she's
Took off.
headed to Milwaukee, and then the rest everybody knows because she gets out there and does her thing. So.
Yeah.
So here's a little point. Now, when we can move on and get back to talking about you guys. We just kind of went off on a
man,
Bonnie
good.
rant
She's
here.
part of our lives, and we're part of hers.
We were talking about the effect, or the mark that she's made in rock and roll, and to say, oh, she was, and I was thinking it was like 15 for some reason. I was thinking when she told me that, I was blown away. Like, what? You couldn't drive? It was a real young age, and her parents had to sign papers or whatever to help it all happen, and it still didn't go smooth for them. But we're talking about the footprint she made on rock and roll and the many ways she touched it. You say it as a young girl, she's touring with Ike Turner.
Yeah.
And we bring Chuck Berry into the conversation. Here's the start of rock and roll.
Right.
I mean, these two cats, along with Johnny Johnson,
brought it, yes.
is a lot of where
So-
Elvis starts getting his material to kick off.
Starts to snowball, yes.
But as far as we're concerned, East St. Louis is in Granite City. We're with Bonnie and East St. Louis and Johnny Johnson territory and over to Chuck Berry. That's where that is the start of rock and roll.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and
then
she
nobody gives
stressed it. She stressed it when
Yeah.
she was here. It's not St. Louis.
It's over
Illinois.
here.
And
Yeah,
she
it's-
mentioned Washington Park, Venice, the
Yeah.
stockyards. That's where it all started because you got to figure it up. In 1958, when she's 14 years old, that's when Ike and Tina are just getting started in this area.
Yeah.
Of course, the incident with the distortion happened down south of Mississippi as they were traveling around down
Now
there
that-
in the middle 50s. You can ask Smash because I just heard him say it on Digging the Smash.
According to Sun Studios, it happened on the way to Sun Studios to record.
It was down south when they're in Mississippi going to Memphis.
Going to Memphis.
Right,
Okay, there we
yeah,
go. Yeah.
Yeah. Ask Smash, digging the Smash,
Digging the Smash,
digging the
digging the
Smash,
Smash.
digging the Smash.
Hi,
Yeah,
Papa.
he's told
my
that
dad.
story on there a few times.
really?
Church Smashington.
Yeah. So I mean, just to put a time on it.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
14 in 1958.
Yeah.
So there you go. And they're just getting underway. And of course, 54 is when Chuck teams up with Johnny Johnson on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Right? They needed someone to fill in for Johnny Johnson's sax player who had a stroke.
The Johnny
And-
Johnson Trio.
And Johnny Johnson said, how can you find somebody on New Year's Eve to fill in? And this kid, Chuck Berry, was the guy they called. And
He was the best player that didn't have a gig on New Year's Eve. In St. Louis that they
I
knew.
never knew that's how.
yeah.
Yeah,
Fired
I didn't know
up.
that
I never
either.
knew
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah.
And of course, Johnny Johnson's right hand is what a lot of rock and roll is based on.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what Chuck was basing everything on. Of course, they go up to Chess Records, and the rest is history. You know, Maybelline's released, and we all know that song. So,
yeah.
And Johnny Johnson has the realization between that New Year's Eve and between getting up to Chess that he says, you know what, this isn't the Johnny Johnson Trio no more. This is the Chuck Berry Show.
well, that's because Chuck had a car.
Chuck had a car, and
He says-
wheels are better than heels.
Yeah. That's a quote. Johnny
That's a
Johnson.
Chuck Berry quote.
Yeah.
I got some other ones I can't say on the air.
I
though.
love that.
So,
That's great. I
So-
love it.
since Bonnie was here, highly influenced us to dig into the history of rock here, and we've been dying to have her back so she can confirm some of this stuff and fill us in on,
Yeah.
you know, because
Missing puzzle pieces.
all three of us were like going a mile a minute when she was here the first time. So you know, it'd be nice to have her back and
Well,
see if we can.
and we've researched it harder and talked to other folks who have helped clue us in on a few pieces and dig into going, hey man, it was right up the road, right up Route 3 is where we're on this side of the river
Right.
is where rock and roll spawned, and nobody's really giving credit to that.
No, my mom and dad used to hang out in East St. Louis, and my mom would always come home and she'd say, man, I don't know how she gets so low, but I did it, you know, and her and Tina Turner would do the limbo together. You know,
Yeah.
you know? My mom and dad hung out there all the time, you know.
Oh, I mean that. Yeah, but I had heard years ago. I'd met Johnny Johnson years ago, and I got to find out. Okay, wow, this is the guy who actually wrote Johnny Be Good, and you get into it, and it's like, okay, so he was writing the stuff on piano. Chuck took that distorted sound that he got off Ike, and he started playing these piano riffs with a distorted guitar. Now we throw some drums to it, and we got rock and roll,
I
baby.
didn't know that. I didn't
Johnny
know that.
Johnson Trio.
That's
how it started.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
It
love
wasn't
that.
long after that though. It became the Chuck Berry band.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But without the distortion and without the drums, it would have just been jazz still.
Right.
Really,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
yeah, and John and Bonnie had mentioned too, you know, and we've talked to Pat Liston and many people about, you know, how big horns were in this area. And, you know, a lot of the bands that Bonnie was in early on were 10, 11 people, like the band
Yeah.
you guys
Right.
talk about
Yeah.
being a part of, you know, because they had horn sections and everything else. And that's a big part of the St. Louis sound.
Yeah.
Right, is the horns, and that's where Mama's Pride got the idea to take the horn sound and put it to guitars, and that's where you get the Mama's Pride sound from.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And of course the Allman Brothers were up here. They were called Almond Joy at the time, and and
The
Steve,
Almond Joys.
Steve,
The Almond Joys. I love that.
right, Steve Scorpina talks about, you know, being too young to get into the show, and him and Michael McDonald hanging out back checking out Almond Joy. So I
when
mean,
they're like 13, 14.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
They were playing gigs before they could drive, and then according to Steve Scorfina, Michael McDonald's parents got a divorce, and his mom came to him and said, Mike, you got to quit the band and go professional. I need money. And he did, and
yeah, he
it
did.
worked out. That doesn't always work out when people say it, but in this case, it worked out really well for him. So yeah, I mean it's amazing the music that is spawned out of this area that really, like you say, you know,
you mix the jazz and the blues,
Yep.
and you get the rock.
Yeah.
Right, and you know,
Right
Bonnie
on.
even talks about when she left here, she went to Milwaukee and
Yeah.
became a jazz singer in Milwaukee. So I mean, it was that big of an influence, jazz in this area. We got Miles. I mean, come on. You know, how big a jazz influence is that? You know, and then you
best.
got all the blues guys.
Solid as it gets, yes.
Albert King, who she talked about, you know, and Oliver Sane, and all them legends, you know, Big George Brock. And, man, East St. Louis and Venice and Madison.
Washington
and
Park, that
Washington
whole,
Park,
all that, that whole area, man, was
now
was
it's
the
strip clubs,
birthplace.
but it used to be music clubs.
Gotta be known for something.
Larry Flint's got to make money, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
How the money really rolls.
He's a hero of mine. Not that I go to the club or anything, but that man got shot over the freedom of press. And you know he's Lovejoy. You know, I mean, you know he really did. He got shot for fighting for the freedom of press. You know,
Yeah.
whether you like him or what he's fighting for or not.
Exactly.
We need the freedom of press. You know, you couldn't shut me up anyway. You'd have to shut me up the same way you tried him, a bullet in the head.
And much like our area with the rock and roll history, you know, we don't get a lot of credit for, you know, his freedom of speech efforts.
Oh,
that
are you kidding me? Yeah, Lovejoy was the king
he
of
died
freedom.
for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
The
so-
ultimate martyr of freedom of speech, man.
Yes.
You know, and you know,
So
you
we-
get taught about it in grade school, and then a lot of people move on. But my grandparents lived right. My great grandparents lived right on 11th Street there, and they would walk me to that from their house whenever I'd visit with them as a little kid. They were like in their 90s or whatever, and so that place always had a special meaning to me. But also, this guy died for freedom. You know,
Yeah.
but not for his freedom, for other people's freedoms.
Yeah.
You know, and ultimate gift for.
Yeah, it goes on and on too. You know, we had Mississippi River Festival. Everybody knows about that and some of the magic that come out of this area. And we talked about it, you know, when they were doing the new MRF. I mean, you can go way back before that. I mean, think about the native people and the mounds and all the gatherings that were happening in this area. You guarantee there was a music festival going on with all those people.
It's weird how you can trace weird things back like that. And I was just telling my son this story today that kind of correlates. So if you go, I can't remember the name of the town. There's a town in Illinois. There's one Mineral Springs that still runs. Like we used to have one down here at the mall, right? So it's a town about an hour and a half from here, maybe an hour from here. I forget the name of it, but me and my wife went to it because she wanted to do this mineral bath, and it was cool.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
so we stayed at this, but I'm a nerd. I read the history of wherever I go. I nerd out on it because I like to know the history. So I start kind of reading.
He's a journalist.
I guess
He
it's
keeps
hard.
denying it.
So I'm nerding out, and me and my wife are reading the history, and we've come to find out, you know, there's a gangster history where the five families used to meet at the heads of the five, and it was like Chicago, Springfield, East St. Louis, there were Carbondale, and I think over on the east, maybe Charleston or something. There were five, you know, big areas that each had a head. And so they would meet there for their big, you know, Geneva Convention or
Springs
whatever
place?
at the Springs
Wow,
place.
isn't that cool?
And so as I'm finding out this, I dig deeper and deeper into like when it was Native Americans, and holy smoke, we had 5 major Native American tribes in Illinois, and they used to meet at this Springs for their convention
Isn't it?
thousands of years.
I know that.
Yeah, I'm a nerd, man.
I love stuff like that, though.
I like stuff like that too.
Research into that. I like that.
Now you know how a big place like the Coliseum Ballroom pops up in the middle of the country, though.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That was for the mobsters. That was
There was a
their
stat-
meeting place.
Al used to be there quite often.
It was
the Luna
a-
and Mitchell. That was on Old 66, which still stands and operates, and he would meet there as well. But yeah,
Those were drop spots where they had big areas underneath to keep lots of liquor that they could disperse out to other towns during Prohibition. They used, you know, they'd have a big load of liquor come into the Coliseum and store it. You know, they had a big storage spot,
Yeah.
but then they could like get it out to other little speakeasies and easies and little towns.
tunnels
Yeah, so-
underneath there.
Yeah.
They found him when it came down. Tunnels underneath there.
When Scott played in the stand there at Scotty's bar over here, just like right down over here, right across there, and it had the basement. When you walked down the basement, it was like a tunnel,
Right.
And it was down there. It was all so, and then the river's right there. So you know,
Right?
didn't like Harriet and them come through there. I think that's part of the.
Underground Railroad. Underground
absolutely.
Railroad, right?
Yeah. Well, that if you go out to the Nature Institute out here in Godfrey and walk, I don't know if you've ever been out there, but they got all these trails you can walk. Me and my wife go out there, and basically, so it was John Olin had the Olin Mansion is up there.
Yeah.
I've
This
seen
is
that,
this is basically what used to be his backyard, and it's this huge area. But it was also part of the run, the midnight run, where they would bring them across the river and take them through these woods that are now the Nature Institute, and come up and join into the Underground Railroad.
That's very interesting. I like
Did
that.
not know
Yeah,
that. I'm learning here.
Well, you know,
I'm sorry, man.
It gives-
I'm
it
sorry.
gives me
Let's
goosebumps.
make.
going. I'm loving
It
it.
does. It gives me goosebumps.
I'm
I
sorry.
love stuff
I'm not
like
supposed to
this.
do this. I'm supposed to say stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
I like it.
well, you think about it, 3 rivers come together here.
Right.
You know, everybody was on foot back then, unless you had a canoe.
Yeah.
And that'd move it along a little quicker.
Quick as it goes.
So, you know,
Canoes and
the
horses.
rivers were the highways at the
Yeah.
time. So,
No wheels, just heels.
right. Paddles.
Heels and hooves back then. You got a horse, you got a canoe, and maybe a donkey.
Yeah.
A lot of those blues musicians making that trek from, the Delta all the way up to Chicago was where the real money was for the blues. And, they talk about getting paid when they'd stop in St. Louis. So they spent a lot of time in St. Louis, which was about halfway.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
They'd
so-
stop at Memphis and places and play, but you're not getting paid. You're just playing to get your name out there and get your songs out.
St. Louis, you'd
That's
start
like
getting-
that in Nashville
But St.
now.
Louis, I mean, again, you guys, I don't know how much, you guys musicians, you've looked into this stuff. Have you heard of the Chitlin circuit?
No.
It was a horrible thing where they had all these African American musicians on
Delta.
tour, but they didn't get paid hardly ever. You just did this. You go play this tour, and you might make you make just enough to survive at best. And places like St. Louis that did pay, you'd hang out for a minute and try and get 2 or 3 jobs before you head on up.
Head up on where
Right.
money is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because you're not even going straight to Chicago from there. You're still stopping in Springfield. You're trying to get your name out. You're trying to get your songs out.
Right.
And back then the radio stations weren't, like this station, independently owned. Some guy owns a station.
Yeah.
It's different than whenever some company that owns 1,000 stations and they've already decided who they're going to play. They got friends and
Right.
So the way you get in with the little stations, you had to show up and
Yeah.
knock on the door and leave them a
Produce.
recording, and
Yeah.
and that all cost money.
The blues started in the cotton fields, right, with them hollering back and forth. That's why you got a repeating line in a blues song, right? You'd holler to the other guy, and he'd repeat it back to you.
Call and
right?
answer.
So that's where the blues developed. Now, by the time those blues legends that came later on their way to Chicago, they knew the route north.
Right.
Because all the slaves had already told them, and their families all knew, this is how you go for freedom. So, and the same
Straight up
thing
55.
for money, eventually. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
come on, folks, this is a home
that-
of rock and
yeah,
roll. We claim
right
it.
on.
We've claimed it ever since Bonnie Bramlet walked in there. Right?
She wised this. Well, when I met Johnny Johnson, it wised me up to the fact that while Chuck and Elvis gets all this credit, and Chuck gets credit for starting it with some Johnny Be Good. It wised me up to and Ike with Rocket 88. It's a split thing here. But when I met Johnny years ago, it was the first time I went, man, I think it actually started over here. But it was just this fleeting thought in my mind. And when Bonnie wised us up to it, we definitely started down that wormhole
Yeah.
of researching a little bit. And every time we get to meet someone who can fill us in on another piece.
Yeah, we got to
trying
get
to
Billy
piece it
Peak
together.
in here and see what he can tell us about, playing with Chuck. Chuck knows a lot of those stories, so he can't get him anymore. But
Yeah.
and that's what Bonnie talked about. A lot of her friends, have gone, and we're lucky to have Bonnie around still at 80 years old. So
And Johnny actually passed right. We had started this show already because I know that was actually when I was on the Glover show. I remember I was talking to him about booking him on the show whenever he had passed. But that was not this show. That was a long time ago.
yeah.
Man, time flies by.
Yeah, it does. This
But
past
yeah.
year went by really fast.
Yeah, we got a few people like Junior. We got a couple people that we think can help fill us in, but we sure, if Bonnie ever comes down, I'm sure she could enlighten us to what we're wrong about.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll talk to her. See if she wants to come.
Well,
up.
I'll just
she's
come down to you guys'
Yeah, I was gonna
house
say,
and talk to her. She don't want to come down. That's fine.
Well, she already told me she does not want me knowing where she lives. I was like, I'll come to you. She's like, no, you will not. She's like, I heard about you.
He's making that up.
like Mechelle warned me, and Scott.
I got to see her perform, unlike Pigpen,
Oh yeah.
down at the
I've got to
Christmas show.
I've got
Yeah.
to see videos. That's and even
It's
watching.
not the same,
It's not
Pigpen.
the same. But
You've seen videos of Jerry Garcia too.
I've seen Jerry. Yeah,
No.
I've seen Jerry for real, man.
Okay.
I've seen Jerry for real, man.
Anyways,
It was,
Hey,
it was the sweatpants
we're
years, but
talking-
he was still there.
we're talking to Scott and Mechelle, not Pigpen, just so you guys know. And Scott and Mechelle, acoustic duo, performing this Saturday at the Casey Hall Christmas. So you guys are obviously doing some Christmas tunes.
Yeah, we're doing a couple, yes.
Yeah.
DJ, we did some DJing there as well.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, would you mind turning down?
Oh, I got you. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Kind of laid back kind of.
Yeah, it's really
and,
laid back.
And
Next Thursday we'll be at the Christmas at the
Mill.
Mill.
Right,
From
doing,
6:30 to 8:30.
The reading of 'Twas the Night
Yeah.
Before
Yes.
Christmas. Explain what's going on there.
I'm just gonna read the book
Okay.
because there's kids activities there, and I'm gonna do the short version, So it's gonna be more like a "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" poem, and so but
The radio edit.
yeah, the radio in it. But there's kids activities down there. The young lady that manages the bar, Kristen Patillo, she's got all kinds of kids games, and they're gonna have like live reindeer and stuff like that. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah. The library's teaming up. They're gonna have they got a live reindeer down there tonight. So the library's teaming up with them. You gotta try to write it.
So do they use the big part of the mill for that, or is it
out in
the
the-
Yeah,
side?
it's in the bar area.
But
Yeah.
last week was also her Christmas party, and so we cooked in there, and so
And kind of combined it
it
all.
combined
yeah.
it all. It was good.
Yeah, it was this Christmas. It's a city Christmas party last week. But yeah. So it's and Scott Marlin played there that night. And so,
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah. So
Did he
but-
do Blue Marlin Christmas? Not or
Yeah.
Marlin
I don't know.
Christmas.
But there's quite a few things coming up. Jeremiah Johnson's there this Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah. Jeremiah Johnson's there with Piper and the Hard Times opening
Oh,
for
they're
them.
fantastic.
And they're truly amazing. They're from Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
And oh my
Pipe.
gosh, Scott and I opened up for them at Jacob Myers. They are so good. And Jeremiah, of course, he's amazing as well.
So
And
Piper and the Hard Times.
Piper and the
I'll
Hard
have to look
Times.
into that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta look them up. They're
Yeah, I
amazing.
will.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, but
Nice.
there's
We gotta
you can
open
get
up for 'em
tickets
and-
at the door and stuff still right now for that, and then there's a Magic at the Mill. It's a Christmas thing. For,
That's the same night
yeah.
you guys are doing Pavillas,
yeah,
right?
yep.
The
yep.
21st.
And then Skid Roses is going to be there in January. it's a Guns N' Roses
Nice.
Skid Row. And sometimes a fantasy Scott and I are actually going to open for. It's the Supernova band is going to open up for that, and we do heavier stuff because our youngest son plays electric, and we do like Alice in Chains and stuff like that. That's so and then we're also working on Hailstorm's version of Bad Romance right now. That's fun. But we'll be there January 25th, opening for that for Supernova, and then but we got
Glenn Campbell's daughter's coming
yeah,
in.
Glenn Campbell's daughter's coming, Debbie Campbell's coming, and Johnny Cash's grandson is coming.
Nice.
Yeah, and I would say, they got Derek St. Holmes is coming with, with the Rich Rath project, and
Picked him up at the airport last time he was in St.
Yeah.
Louis. I was in-
That's awesome.
and there's going to be a
In my
wrestling.
back seat. This is great.
There's going to
guy
be a
who
wrestling
sang
at the mill.
Stranglehold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sing a couple
For
bars.
the people that don't know, that's
People that don't know, it's a stranglehold. But
Yeah.
but also there's wrestling at the mill coming up too.
All
They're gonna have a
right.
wrestling thing there, and on the Valentine's weekend, both nights. One night's gonna be Frank Sinatra. It's gonna be a dinner theater style Frank Sinatra tribute, and then the next night's gonna be Frank and the Rat Pack. So yeah, it's gonna be a great year next
yeah.
year.
Exciting. They
So,
finally
Scott
got
and I
that thing.
we're booking up. We have like 2 or 3 places already that we're booked throughout the year, and so we're
Nice.
starting to fill up. So we need to get a hold of some people that places that we want to play at. So
I had Derek St. Hubbins in my car one time. No.
I think it would be neat for you guys to have like a street festival.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about it
yeah.
actually.
That would be
You
neat.
know, it's there.
We don't know if we can get Scott and Mechelle. That's the only holdup.
We're in.
It is. It's been in talks and actually sort of moved a little bit closer to the thought of it happening. But it's if you guys say your Mardi Gras that you have in Granite City.
Yeah.
So this is a big 40 30. What do you got? 34? I don't even know. 20 at least 20 places
Yeah.
involved in this, right? And it's all of your downtown area. That's a big undertaking. A lot of people don't understand. To coordinate something like this, to pay for something like this to happen, and if you want to do it right, because I've rushed on some of my, festivals before I last minute and find them at place at the last minute or make the decision. Well, I'll do it, and after you do that a couple times, you realize, oh, you know what? If I'm gonna, what's Hunter say? Any job worth doing. Worth doing right.
Right, and yeah. So speaking of the Mardi Gras, I asked Ray Warren if he could. There's this one particular band that I have just like. I'm just in awe over them. And there's Sweetie and the Toothaches.
Okay.
And
I love the name.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
And
They
they're
match
like
it.
the
It's awesome.
big band style, like the Andrew sister type thing, and she dresses the part, and they are just truly phenomenal. And I cannot wait. They're gonna be there. They're gonna be at the mill on that day. On our Mardi Gras Day, March 1st.
When you say big band, it's kind of weird because there's lots of different big band styles or whatever.
This
But
is like
I'm-
Andrew's sister type.
Right. When you said that, I got a sense. As soon as you said that, I get
Yeah.
a sense of it. But then, like you talk about Frank Sinatra, it's
Yeah.
got a little more, or Glenn Miller. Those guys got a little more of a different, bam, ba-da, bam, 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 the punches from the horns and
Yeah.
I love that stuff. man.
They have horns. They have the stand-up bass. They have all of that, and but it's I'm excited about that band. Yeah.
There's something about Dennis brought up the influence of horns in St. Louis music, and it's true. I actually have hung out with the grandson, or well, I guess Nat King Cole was his mom's uncle. So he's
really?
kin to Nat
Oh,
King
wow.
Cole. His name's Anthony Cole, and he's one of the most amazing drummers I've seen play, and he does it like it's not happening and laughs about it. And the first time I met him, I was laughing. I said, man, I'm sorry, you guys made, I've been laughing most of the way through your show, but this guy doesn't know me and he doesn't understand. And he said, what? And I said, look, good music will make me smile. I'll start smiling. But there's a certain point where I will just start laughing out loud when music's moving.
When
me.
you're moved,
When-
yeah.
to a point of, look what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
And they're acting like they ain't even trying. It's just one of those human emotions. You can't, you guys make me laugh.
Thank you very much.
The first time I saw you guys play was down here in Alton at the Mineral Springs, and you play music that's just kind of in my wheel.
Yeah.
You hit me in my creamy center, as I like to say. So I'm so happy to see you guys
We're happy to
still
see
trucking
you.
along after all this time, and any time you're doing it because you love it.
Oh, yeah.
22 years
You-
we've
I
been
was
playing
gonna
together.
say,
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to get my wife to take up playing music, and I said, I have to be good. Let's just do it for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And it has probably over the past 25 years been one of the things that have bound us together.
Yeah.
I mean, we go to concerts together all the time. That's kind of one of our first things that got us
Yeah.
hanging out. But once we play music together, it's kind of like, well, now we got a thing to do to hang out at home other than
Yeah.
watch TV, or you read a book while I read a different book.
It's our alone time.
Well, and
Sometimes
it,
I said something, hey, that's our alone time.
Yeah,
Walter."
So what else we got going on around town this weekend, Mr. Bash? Mr. Dennis? Mr. Denny? See, I just called them all three.
Yeah.
I just hit him with all three.
Now everybody knows who he is.
You're going to answer yourself. I'm afraid to talk. You keep jumping in there. So why don't you just tell me? You got the list in front of you. You can keep talking. You'll be
No,
helpful.
I don't want to.
Give it to me. I'll talk.
I don't want to.
Hey, I did want to comment on the festival thing that you brought up earlier. You know, one thing that keeps people from putting on more festivals in this area is that we have a lot of festivals in this area. I mean, we got the
Have one down in Granite.
We have the Earth Tone Festival. We have
that's
Rock
huge.
the Hops.
And Mississippi Earth Tones, our Mississippi River Fest now returning.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's another huge one, and there's tons and tons every weekend through the summer. There are tons, and I'll point out one other thing that has been a hiccup in trying to launch a big street festival, as you were saying, is that there isn't a working hotel in the downtown area.
Yeah.
There's a great stretch of bars and businesses.
Right.
There's the amphitheater. There's all this. There's a lot of infrastructure in place to make it happen, and I think the community behind it
Yeah.
to make it happen. However, if you're really trying to draw people in, not just
Right.
draw the city in, but
Yeah.
really draw people
People
in
from-
from out of
yeah,
town.
we have that
with
issue
a big
too.
thing. Yeah, and I know when Mayor Parkinson's took me around Granite City and we discussed festivals down there, he said there's 3 hotels. You know, in Granite, and none of them are close to anything.
No.
They're all, there's one way over there and one way over there. You know. And
Yeah, it's basically the pontoon beach hotels, you know, out there that they have like out by Party at the Beach.
Yeah.
That's the hotels, but we have a couple Airbnbs now. You know, there's a house that's it was built in 1915.
Wow.
And that's where that's like where we'll have some of
Van Halen
we'll have
band
some of the bands stay there when they come in.
Cool.
Yeah.
And,
And they-
and I think there's a few of those down here too,
Yeah.
and that's great for if you're trying to house a couple of bands.
yeah.
But if you're trying to house a
whole slew of people.
if you're trying to
distance.
draw thousands of people to
Yeah.
your city for a multi-day festival,
Right.
and I know some cities that do it that they run trams from the downtown, buses from the
Right.
downtown area to one or two of the near hotels.
Yeah.
But man, when you're trying to pay for something, every little cost,
Right.
and
Yeah.
a lot of people like to be able to just walk out,
Yeah.
but, so there you go. I was talking again, man. I said I was going to shut up.
He had a little extra pregame tonight, I can tell. Yeah.
I don't smell any worse than I normally do.
Pre-game.
Yeah. It happens
I'm-
from time to time.
I'm
So
fine.
Scott and Michelle's playing Saturday at the Casey Hall, and I guess that's open to the public.
I don't think so.
No, that's a private one.
I think it's for their members there.
But the mill,
The mill on,
definitely
on
open.
December 19th is open to the public,
And on
and
the
it's a free
19th.
concert.
right?
Yep.
Gotcha. And then the 21st down at the pizza
Pavius.
place.
Yeah.
Pavius.
Pavius,
down in
yeah.
Granite City.
Pavias. I say it wrong every week. I say Pavias.
Some
Yeah,
people
that's
say
okay. Yep.
Pavius. Pavius.
That's the
Pavias.
French pronunciation. Papillas. Or Italian, maybe. It's like,
It's
hey, a
yeah,
papilla.
Italian.
It's a
Italian.
papilla.
Yeah.
Going on this weekend, Friday night, truckers at Fast Eddie's, the Owls at the VFW, and Rum Boogie at the Moose in Wood River, and Graham Band at Bakers and Hale in Godfrey, and Cashmere going to be doing a Led Zeppelin tribute at the Wild E Theater on Friday night. So
We
that's
saw
a
them.
Friday.
Excellent.
Who'd you see?
Cashmere.
Oh, yeah. Pretty good, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. It was legit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because sometimes you wonder, man. I seen that Eric Clapton tribute. I'm like, oh, that dude's got chops. Yeah. Right? And then it's like Santana tribute was with him. I'm like, both those guys better have chops. Right?
You can't just claim this stuff, man.
Right.
You better. The emotion better
Oh,
be
it's gotta be
behind
there.
it because every note played by most musicians has some emotion attached to it, and some you feel it. And guys like Santana,
You gotta feel that.
if I ain't feeling what you're playing, bro, my wife makes fun of it. She's like, you always use these, these terms that, warm. Oh, it's a soft sound. It's a warm sound. Just trying to describe the tone, man. For the love of God. We're getting a call. Somebody wants me
Remember-
to shut up again. I saw.
Remember Powell Jr. 72?
I do, absolutely.
Yeah, they're playing with Steve Ewing on Friday night.
Awesome. Good
At
for
a place
them, man.
called Frankie and Johnny's in Belleville.
Nice. Good
Yeah,
for them,
It's been
man.
a while since we heard from them.
I heard they were lovers, Frankie and Johnny. No.
It seems like it. Yeah. That was Judas Priest and Frankie Lee.
That was Joni and Chachi, man.
I think it was Judas
that a
Priest
song?
and Frankie
Yeah.
Lee.
Judas Priest and Frankie Lee, they were the best of friends.
Sarah
Isn't that
Schumaki
song
over in
from
St.
Young
Louis on
Lovers? Yeah.
Friday night. The city founders.
He's
so.
saying, Michelle, now you're acting like that. Be quiet. Oh, somebody's calling again.
I know. They were calling to tell me to shut up
Now
and
let's
start
answer.
talking.
Let's
Probably. Should we take a call?
Yeah.
We've done it before.
Act like it's Pizza Hut.
Naked. Well, they didn't hold on.
they call and say, "Hey, tell Scott this guy's open."
Please don't tell us Lonesome Blues is playing Saturday at the Conservatory in Alton. Don't tell us that again. Naked Soul and the Truckers at Fast Eddie's on Saturday. Exit 52 Acoustic out of Baker's and Hale. And guess what? Doc Holidays is reopening with Beowulf.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's how you kick it off.
That's a heck
Get
of
the
a
legends
reopen.
in.
Yeah.
I love Beowulf.
And in Wood River that night, Rock Bottom.
Man, there's another one. We're
Yeah.
talking about guys that have been together a while.
Scruffy looking Nerf herder at Sparky's on Saturday from 7 to 11. And the Toy Drive at Sonny's Main Street in Brighton with Kyle Greenwell from Flatliner. Remember Flatliner?
Oh, yeah. I just talked to Kyle a few weeks ago on the phone, man.
Kenny Jameson with him. So
Nice.
And then Flip the Frog doing their Rockin' for Tots Drive. A lot of those going on this time of year. There'll be a DJs in Jerseyville on Saturday doing that, getting some toys for the children's. So, and Badfinger featuring Joey
Ooh.
Malond. Did I say that right? Malond?
Yeah. Sure.
I just call him Joey.
Moland. Hey, it's Joey Molan.
That's a Wild E show on Saturday.
Yeah, Badfinger. Awesome, man. I dig on some Badfinger, man, day after day.
And there's
Love it.
Jeremiah Johnson with guest Piper and the Hard Times
Phenomenal.
down at the Mill in Granite City on Saturday, as you mentioned. We got the Jazzy Christmas happening too down in Granite City at the Speakeasy. You guys check that place out yet? It looks like a pretty cool little place. They got
Beautiful.
that back what do they call that?
The alley.
The
Yeah,
alley. Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
Oh, it's
But,
Gangster's Alley. I don't know.
And then the Neighborhood Social Club is something we've been talking about in
Yeah.
Granite City. Dave Mendoza going to be down there on Saturday.
oh, is he?
So Granite City's passing us up, Pigpen. I mean,
Yeah.
there's more and more music down there.
Well, you know, and even a lot of our, we've talked about how a lot of our Alton musicians at this time migrated from Granite
Yeah.
City. You know, Hideous Gentleman.
Yeah.
You know, Spilly Nelson.
Yeah.
You know, these are Granite boys. You know.
Yeah, they're actually, now that you speak of Spilly Nelson's actually going to have a
Yeah.
Granite Palooza at the Mill downtown January 11th.
With
Nice.
Lofty's
And-
Comment.
yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Hideous Gentleman's
Hideous
got to
gonna
be
be
there.
there, yeah.
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 Who else would be there?
That's just off the top. I can remember those for
Yeah,
sure.
they're going to have all kinds of vendors and stuff like that at the Mill, January
Awesome,
11th.
man. Nice, nice.
Another place I've been seeing a little more of down there in Granite City is the Route 66 Kickstand Bar in
Yeah.
Granite City.
Uh-huh.
I think Flipside's played down there, and I want to say Spilly Nelson's played down there. So you guys are getting more and more venues down there. It seems like they're new to us. Maybe
Yeah.
they're just getting the word out better.
It used to be
and we're-
Patty McDee's, but new ownership.
so that's the
There you
kickstand.
go.
Yeah.
That's the kickstand. Now
Okay.
we've talked about Patty McDee's for a while, and
Oh, never mind. My bad.
It's not?
I'm
Further down
sorry.
the road.
Which one
Oh,
is
okay.
it?
Hawk's Nest is
Hawk's
what
Nest.
is that? The
Okay.
kickstand is down at the
By
flea
Terry's.
market.
That's
yeah.
right. Okay,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay. Straight
Well,
us out.
and Dennis bringing up
Universally
all the venues and how many Granite City venues there are. That is done with intent.
Yeah.
You know, it is that city is popping with a lot of venues and the mill as the heart of it.
Yeah.
You know, with the big venue right there in the middle,
Yeah.
and you've already got at least one really successful festival going on.
Yeah, yeah.
With your Mardi Gras. I mean that's
Oh,
that's
yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And I
party
and-
at the beach and pontoon. So
Yeah.
that's right down the road, the
Yeah.
neighboring, So,
Yeah,
and
and,
I'm sure there's going to be more to come because that city just keeps with the entertain. You know, it's like a whole entertainment district.
Yeah,
down
we're
there
gonna
that's popping.
at Jacob Myers. Jacob Myers is coming back.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
and they're
back.
coming
Nice.
back, and they're gonna.
New ownership.
We talked to them about having the Oktoberfest. You know, former owner and our very close friend Bob Kirksey passed away last Valentine's Day, and so we call it the Bobtoberfest.
Nice.
And this past one, I wasn't able to go there. We were supposed to play at it. I had COVID for the fourth time.
Oh.
And, yeah, and so we.
I just say,
That's
I'm
a
gonna
tough
drive for
girl.
5 days and drink.
That's
Yeah.
a tough girl right there, man.
It's
I had it once, and I just didn't. I'm like, I'm done. You know,
Once,
Just- yeah,
done.
I'm
This
done,
last-
man.
yeah.
Just take pillow, blanket.
to it.
I'm
I
done,
like
man.
this
I
last one
enjoyed it
kicked
at
my
all.
butt a little bit, but that's because I always have to share the love,
Makes you think you'd still sing with a mask?
Yeah.
So we got to
sound like Kenny on South Park, but
mention Deutz Village Inn and Pontoon Beach
yes.
down there. They got Phase 2 on Friday and Saturday night. So I love
those
Deutz.
guys.
What a great
too.
place to play.
Yes.
The people just love you there.
Yes.
They're not having conversations; they're actually watching the band.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're booked throughout the whole year. Next year there already, and Jacob Myers and Big Daddy's
Prairie
and
Town.
Prairie Town Inn.
That's a
And
great place. You've
Yeah.
been there? Prairie Town Inn?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
you're
Love
going
that
to have
place.
so many steady gigs. You're going to be booked through the whole year just with steady gigs.
The Prairie Inn is where the golf carts show up to watch you.
yeah, and they
Yellow Dog. Have you
Pretty
been to Yellow
good.
Dog in
yeah,
Morton?
Yellow Dog.
Yellow
yeah.
Dog,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Home of the Warty Girl.
Yeah, there you go.
I just missed buying that place.
The Yellow Dog?
Yeah.
From John.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember when John owned it.
Yeah.
I'd go up there. That's been decades
Yeah,
ago.
and Rick Landrum bought it, and Scott and I actually got to open for Beowulf. You guys mentioned Beowulf.
Yeah.
We opened for him the last Mardi Gras. It was nice.
Nice. I opened for him years ago at the Granny's Rocker days.
Yeah.
I'd get bands, and they'd let me come in there and play.
I love
They were
Bobby.
always good to me back in the day.
And Jimmy.
We've had a tough
I love
time.
Bobby and Jimmy.
We've had a tough time getting them. We've always wanted to have
Really?
them, but yeah.
Oh.
I've
Yeah.
reached out to a couple of I can't remember which ones I came across numbers on. But my big contact with him back in the day was Randy, who was the manager all the years that
yeah.
for years and years down there. Me and him rode motorcycles together back
Yeah.
then, and so he kind of got me in that club, and well, along with I was doing lights for like Nasty Habits and Passenger and some of the bands that were around.
Yes.
Remember Nasty
Yes,
Habits?
I do.
Oh, Doug Gehring. I ain't seen them cats for a while, but anyway, so you guys playing next Thursday? Where?
Next
At the
Thursday at the Mill.
At the Mill. Next
Christmas at
Thursday
the Mill.
There it is. Christmas at the Mill. That is a free show.
Oh, yeah.
And I apologize before we went on the air to you. This has been going on for several weeks now.
Yeah,
Free shows every Thursday, and it's going on until
And January 2nd.
January 2nd. Will be the last Thursday.
Yes.
So you got 5 more to go.
Yeah, and that last one, there's going to be some of the people from Calvary Church is going to do a Christmas church. Yeah.
Great.
Gospel and do
Which
Christmas
date is
music.
that?
It's January 2nd.
On the
Yeah.
that's the final one.
Yep.
January 2nd. All
Yeah.
right, man. And who else? Who you got on the? You're there the 19th. So
Yeah.
that leaves a couple.
Yeah,
leaves
we're
one
there
in
the
between
19th, and then let me see here. I think he's just got Christmas at the Mill on there, but
That,
but
you know what?
I can get
let's
you
just
that
say-
list.
Let's just say Santa Claus is going to be there.
Yeah, Santa Claus is there tonight. Yeah, Santa Claus is there, and the reindeer is there, and
Mrs. Claus might even show up. We don't know.
Right.
that's
So there you go.
awesome.
Sometimes we can't get a guest because a lot of musicians don't want to sit and talk for an hour. They want to play their instruments. So
Yeah.
to get someone to come sit in and just
Very
talk with us.
educational tonight.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
enjoyed this.
I love it.
I'm gonna
Thank
look
you,
up-
I don't think that's ever been said. This has been educational. I've never heard those words said to me, at
It
least.
is. So it's
We've
true.
said it many times that we like to educate our listeners and the younger musicians that come in by having somebody like Bonnie Bramlet on to tell
Right.
us,
Yeah.
and so that's kind of always been a little bit of the mission here for Riverbend Talent is you can learn a lot by watching other people that's done it a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you wonder why not so many people are showing up, well, look at a band that's got people showing up and see what the difference is, right? So
What is the lesson we learned from Pat Liston? What's the Mama's Pride lesson?
Mama's Pride lesson, just claim that it's a cover song if you can't play an original in a bar.
If the managers complain about playing originals, you just go ahead and play them. And when they say, "What was that last song?" You ask Three Dog Night, man.
Which, by the way, brings us right back around to Bonnie Bramlett. That's who she ran into in Milwaukee, and they told her, "Hey, when you get to California, look us up."
Who's that? Three Dog Night?
Yeah, they weren't called Three Dog Night at the time.
They were Two Dog Night still.
But it was the future Three Dog Night.
Nice.
So
That's
it's all
awesome.
part of the interview. You can check it out.
You know who gave them the name Three Dog Night?
Bonnie
I've
Bramlet.
heard what it is.
It's a
Very
cold,
cold-
it's
cold-
cold night
cold
where
night.
you're sleeping with three dogs on you. But the person who gave him that name said it's colder than a 3 Dog Night. She's known as the Ajax girl from Cheech and Chong. In the Cheech and Chong movie, she
The one that
snorts
snorted the
snorts the
Ajax?
Ajax.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was dating Danny Hutton, the singer of 3 Dog Night at the when they got that name.
Did not know that.
See, more education. There
Yeah, I
you go.
love that.
I'm writing all this down here. I like this.
Scott's going.
There'll be a test later.
He can remember it.
All right. Well, it looks like we're up against the clock. And once again, appreciate you guys coming in. Check out
thank you,
Christmas
guys.
at the Mill. Check out the Mill period down there in Granite City.
Yeah,
A great venue.
We're heading down there right after this. So
All
Wanna
right.
go.
Go and check
Come
out
on.
Jeremy Drake.
AKA the Mini Rhine.
He's still going
oh yeah,
until about what time?
8:30.
8:30?
yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
Still got an hour and a half. Plenty of time. Plenty of time, and it's free.
yeah. Come on down.
Nice.
There you go. Hey, thanks for coming down.
Hey, thank you guys.
Always a pleasure to see your smiling faces.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having us here.
Oh yeah.
We look forward to this. This is awesome. This is great.
I had
How
to
can
pay
anyone
him.
not
Don't,
enjoy
I gave him each $20. Don't let him know. I gave him an
Already
extra.
spent mine.
I actually gave him an extra 10 to say that. Go ahead, finish.
Can you just
I
slide
love
that
this
under the
very
table?
much.
Yeah.
You guys are really cool and stuff.
Remember that last time we were on here? Yeah, that was really cool.
Oh, there you go. Hey, thanks so much
Thank
again
you,
for
guys.
coming down.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you
Best
so
of
much.
luck to you. And everybody, remember to get. Whoa, what? Hey.
When's the last time you mentioned our sponsors?
Oh, right now, thanks to Halpin Music Company for 10 years almost of sponsoring, and along with Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance, who encourages everybody to get out and support local music and art.